You want to start? Thank you. Okay, just want to welcome everyone to the Sunnyvale Democratic Club meeting for February 15th. And we have a busy agenda today, so our main speaker will be Josh Becker. And I am not monitoring if anybody's waiting in the waiting room. So maybe Mike, could you monitor that? Thank you. All right, so Senator Josh Becker will be speaking. Following that, we will have Peggy Brewster talking about just briefly on the Sunnyvale School District trustee area opening that was vacated by Eileen Lay when she became a council member. And then we will also invite ADEM candidates to give a few words of introduction if they wish, and then we will have announcements. And during all of the time, if you have questions, please either put them into the chat, or we will do Q&A with the senator and with other speakers later on. So please be thinking of your questions during the presentations. All right, I wanted to welcome Councilmember Mellinger, just joined. A few others, welcome. All right. Since we are waiting for our speaker, I wonder if we can just open it up for general announcements. Again, welcome to our elected officials. Patrick Ahrens, Assembly Member. We have 3 council members, Sunnyvale City Council, Linda Sell, Richard Mellinger, Charles E. Chang. A number of boards and commissioners are also in attendance. Thank you for your service.
I can give a brief announcement if people would like about the results of the study issue workshop.
Please do. Yes, thank you, Richard.
So the city had our annual study issue ranking workshop this past Thursday, February 13th. Our staff is dealing with very impacted workloads right now. So this has been a lighter year in terms of study issues than some previous years. But some of the highlights of what we prioritized a study issue to look at signalizing 3 intersections on Fair Oaks and Balsam, Fair Oaks and Taylor, Fair Oaks and McKinley. In addition, a study issue to examine establishing a memorial to the incarceration of Japanese Americans during the Second World War on city land. A study issue to look at our sign code, a study issue to look at expanding the role of the Heritage Preservation Commission. We also dropped 4 in-progress study issues that, based on staff's recommendation, it felt that they could be better incorporated into existing work plans. So that is the very quick and dirty update on the study issue workshop. The full results ranking sheet is available online on the city website, and I will try to drop that in the chat. Thank you all.
Thank you, Council Member. Any others with quick announcements?
Yeah, I could make an announcement for the Sunnyvale Chamber of Commerce is having their first Showcase Sunnyvale coming up on, I believe, March 6th at Plug and Play, 6 o'clock on March 6th.
Thank you. Is there a link or something that could be put in the chat, or?
I could work on that later. The chamber now has a new executive director, Kat Filey, and so they're struggling to get the chamber back on its feet. So any support or help you can, it would help get the Sunnyvale Chamber back.
Sounds good.
Julia, is this the Plug and Play on Murphy or the one on Wolf and Stewart.
I believe it's on Wolf, Mike, and I've never actually visited that location, but Kat just took me to lunch for my birthday, so we got to chat about, the challenge that it is for her being new. And the former Sunnyvale Chamber person, Michelle, I believe, has been putting this together. So it's very difficult. So I'm just giving it a plug to help because we need to get our chamber back on its feet.
Yeah.
All right, I see Tim Wee with a hand raised.
Yes, as you know, I'm always biking and encouraging people to bike more. And so if you want to learn how to fix a flat and fix tubes, you can come to our bike fixing party at Sports Basement, March 1st, Saturday. Learn how to fix a tube and fix a lot of tubes. And if you want some tubes, we got lots of tubes to give to you. They're all fixed, unlimited tubes. And then March 8th, we got the library bike repair event also. If you want to help fix bikes or get your bike fixed or learn how to fix bikes, I'll put links to both of those in the chat. Always trying to get new people involved and hopefully biking everywhere to save our planet. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Assemblymember Ahrens.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's joining, having a good weekend. I wanted to give everyone a quick update from my Pancakes and Policy event. We had over 300 bill ideas submitted. And so my team is looking through that, but I really appreciate everybody who came and participated. I'm also going to have pretty regular town halls every month. This upcoming month is going to be in Santa Clara. So if you're already getting my email propaganda, you'll be receiving an invite. But I want to thank everyone for coming, and we're going to continue the conversation because there is just a lot happening in the state that I'm really looking forward to Senator Becker coming on, who's just been such a champion on so many issues in the state Senate. And he's just been a really great collaborator and a mentor of mine. So really looking forward to hearing the discussion today. Thank you, everyone.
Right, thank you. Let's see, I think Ambrosia, do you have a few words?
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to say as membership director, as I update attendance, I might ping you if your dues are up January or February or March, get a head start on that. And if you have any questions about your membership, feel free to send me a direct message. Sorry, I just got finished walking the dog. But looking forward to the meeting. I'll also share in the chat, I was at the League of Women Voters event this morning, and their meet and greet is coming up the end of March. I'll share that date.
Sounds good. Mike, do you want to talk about the book group?
Well, Carol Weiss is on. She can talk about the book group. She's our leader.
Thank you. Book group is open to anyone who likes reading political nonfiction. Although maybe political fiction is more timely. This month we are reading and discussing The Violence Project. Next month we are looking at a book on white nationalism. The following month, we're reading Fareed Zakaria's recent book. I have the whole schedule if you want to contact me. We've been doing hybrid meetings lately, thanks to Mike Cerrone's great abilities. So you can join us in person or online. And the discussions are usually pretty good. I think pretty deep, pretty thoughtful, and impactful on us as a group. So I will put my email address in the chat, and I welcome all of you. I see Gail is on, and she's an active member of our group and a participant. So please do join us, and it doesn't have to be regular. If now and then you see a book that you have wanted to read. You get so much more out of it if you discuss it with some other like-minded folks. We call ourselves a politically inspired book group. So please contact me. Thank you.
Yeah, the current schedule is on our website, the club website.
Thank you.
I just mentioned that you don't have to read the whole book. Just read some of the book or the parts you want. You know, we don't, if you just can't handle the whole book, then don't read the whole book. Just read some of the book. Sometimes I'd read just the introduction and the conclusion. Come on, Carol, lighten up.
All right, other announcements?
I can announce, we were going to ask Chuck to do this, but I don't see him on. I'll just repeat what's publicly announced. There's a proposed ordinance that's going to be discussed at a planning commission meeting and city council meeting to provide an incentive for some of the village centers if they it's an incentive basically to remove the inclusionary housing if they as an incentive to keep retail. And there aren't any other details published, but so that might be of interest to the members. It's coming to the Planning Commission, I guess, on the 24th of February. And then I forget when it's coming to the council. So it may be of interest. Well, the details aren't even published and the club hasn't taken a position. So, but it might be worth tuning into. And I just noticed, maybe Margaret, maybe you can help me with this. It looks like on the 19th, there's an outreach meeting for the Heritage Museum on the new edition. And again, I don't have any details on that, but maybe Margaret, you know more about it. I'm a little surprised. I noticed it's the same night as a speaker at the museum. So anyway.
I don't think that date is right. There's an outreach meeting. I haven't heard it. I mean, I heard originally it was on the 19th, and then it was changed to Tuesday at 1:30. And it's not a general public meeting. It's simply between some of the staff and the committee that's museum volunteers who are dealing with the staff, working with the staff about this extension. And it has to do with bathrooms. I mean, I don't think it's not controversial. It's just updating because there's been some staff turnover. You know, Jackie Guzman was working with us and so on. There is an orchard study floating around about orchard. That's a different issue. That doesn't have much to do with the museum, about the management of the orchard. And that's finally come up. And I think they're working on it now. I don't know when there's going to be meetings on it, general meetings or hearings or whatever. I think that'll be enough. You know, the city doesn't move very quickly.
Yeah, but there is a noticed study issue meeting on the 19th on this subject. Maybe Linda has her hand raised. Maybe.
Sorry, I don't know the info. I heard about that, but then I assumed that the meeting on the 19th had been changed to this Tuesday at 1:30, and it was just the 3 or 4 people who are volunteers from the museum, and then the 3 or 4 people from the city who are working with us on this.
Right, I think that may be different.
Yeah, Linda, maybe you know.
Well, I can ask staff for information and then get it to Mike, and then he can distribute it out to the club.
Yeah, I just
if it is a meeting that's open to the public.
It's on the calendar as a meeting. So
And then I wanted to announce that Thursday, February 27th, which I put in the chat at 6:30 p.m., there'll be a public safety town hall. That public safety of Sunnyvale is working with the mayor and the neighborhood associations to put a public safety town hall, and they'll have also information about tips to prevent fires based on what people's concerns about wildfires. So that is in the chat, February 27th, Thursday, 6:30.
Thank you, Councilmember Sell, and thank you to everyone for putting links into the chat. There's a lot of great information, a lot of events coming up. Peggy, did you want to say what you put in the chat as well?
Oh, sure. So the Sunnyvale Education Foundation is looking for sponsors to the Celebrate Sunnyvale event. It has in the past been a great networking time for us, and also we've been able to, and from that we've been able to raise money to distribute to the 10 Sunnyvale School District schools for enrichment, and also look forward to like some more community partnerships. We are doing a lot of advocacy within the foundation and collaboration with partners in the community, and really excited about our work. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. Others with announcements.
I have one more. I'm going to be dropping something in chat. I just finished a piece on my Medium about what Trump and Musk are doing, how it is very, very bad, but there is reason for hope. Their strategy does not make sense from a long-term perspective, and it is hurting their own prospects. But it requires us to be active in opposition. I would appreciate, I'm going to drop some links. I'd appreciate it if folks would take a read if you feel so moved, and maybe do a like or a repost so that I can help break through Facebook's algorithm wall. But appreciate it, and courage.
Thank you, Councilmember Mellinger. I also wanted to highlight a new addition on the Dem Club website. There's a President's Day, National Day of Protest. Mike, do you have any more information about that?
No, I don't, other than what was posted on the website.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so that's 50 protests, 50 states, one movement, February 17th, this coming Monday, President's Day at 12 noon at the Circle of Palms Plaza, Market Street in San Jose. Peaceful protest to tell our elected officials that we want action. And that is on the website with all the details.
One more thing, I think probably most of you know that they're protesting in front of Tesla in Sunnyvale right now as we speak from 2 to 4 this afternoon. But there's also protests in front of the Tesla dealership in Palo Alto tomorrow. Can't give you the date. I know that. I'm pretty sure that Tesla dealership is on El Camino from 2 to 4. Is it 2 to 4 or no? Is it 2 to 4? I'm not sure.
Thank you, Margaret.
Kirsten, what time are we expecting Josh Becker, Senator Becker?
I believe it was supposed to be 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll send him a text.
All right. So I wonder if we can shift the agenda around. Peggy, would you be willing to give your presentation?
Yeah, let me pull up a few links and just give me a couple minutes.
Okay.
And I'll be ready to do that.
All right. And then also on our agenda, we had ADEM candidates. Any ADEM candidates who want to speak for a few minutes? There is an assembly election for California ADEM candidates. It's on right now. If you registered, you should have ballots. If you have not voted, you have until February 23rd. And we have a number of members who are also candidates. So, and some of them are here, and we'll invite them to give a little introduction and ask for your vote. So I do see Doug Coons. Doug, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you. So, hey, everybody. I'm a proud Democrat and member of the Sunnyvale Democratic Club. You probably know me, through volunteering roles I've held and hold in our community, including being on the Sustainability Commission, chairing the districting committee for the Fremont Union High School District, and things I've done in PTA and scouting. So in my case, I'm seeking to be an ADEM delegate to help make sure that our state party platform is a tangible and practical guide that our elected leaders can follow and that everyday people can understand and believe in. Appreciate your support and hope to be your voice in the state Democratic Party. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Gail, would you like to say a few words? Gail is also on the ballot.
Hi, I'm Gail. I'm a Blue Dog Democrat. I've only voted for one Republican in my entire life, and that was Mr. Simon, who used to own the LA Times, and he was running for senator a long time ago. Anyway, so I support the Democratic Party, through thick or thin, and I'd be more than happy to have your support and know that I'll fight pretty hard for democratic values. Thanks.
Right, thank you, Gail. Carol, would you like to say a few words? Carol Weiss.
Yes, thank you.
Can I interrupt? Senator Becker will be logging on now. He was expected to come on at 2:30.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I can wait.
Actually,
no, please go ahead, Carol. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, for Senator Becker, it's okay. I am one of the earliest members of the Sunnyvale Democratic Club. I served on a lot of its positions on its board. I'm lifelong Democrat. My first campaign was Eugene McCarthy's, if some of you remember that. 3-generation union member family. I have been a county commissioner in several capacities, vice chair of the County Human Relations Commission, 2 terms on Sunnyvale's Planning Commission. I'm currently vice chair of Housing and Human Relations. I have been an ADEM before. This time I feel more gung-ho than other times because I'm not giving up. I'm more motivated to get in and fight, make sure that our California values are carried through and appreciated. And I certainly know the values of this district, having lived here since 1976. So I would very much appreciate your vote, and I will do my part to be worthy of it. Thank you.
Don't worry. Josh is online.
Right, thank you, Carol. All right, so Peggy, we will defer you. Our guest of honor has arrived.
No problem.
And advised.
We wanted to welcome Senator Josh Becker. Let's see. See you. Yes, I see you.
Hello.
Awesome. So just give it a very brief introduction. Josh Becker represents District 13 in the California State Senate. He was elected in 2020, serving Sunnyvale, and we were also happy to have him as our senator. In 2022, with redistricting, the lines were redrawn and did not include Sunnyvale, but he has continued his support of Sunnyvale residents and continued interaction with us and spoken to the club several times. He's a champion for the environment and climate action. He serves on many committees, including transportation, budget and fiscal review, and appropriations, among others. Recently, he became chair of the Senate Committee for Energy, Utilities, and Communications. Senator Becker will update us on bills he has proposed for this legislative session and actions the state is taking to protect California residents from federal level attacks and unlawful actions. Senator Becker, thank you for being here today to speak to the club. Please go ahead.
Thank you for having me. I know it's painful that I'm no longer formally representing Sunnyvale, but I really enjoyed being a member of this club and speaking with this club and learning from this club and with this club. So really was excited to be asked to come back and chat. Sorry, it was on my calendar for 2:30, not 2, so apologize for that. Just tell me, how much time do I have? Or should I?
You have as much as you want, actually.
Okay.
We would like to
only 90 seconds, Becker. You only have 90 sequences left.
Oh yeah, all right. Yeah, exactly. And you've used up your half of it. Okay. Well, I'll try not to take up all your time, but yeah, this is to say, first of all, very grateful to have a new colleague in Patrick Ahrens. It's very exciting when I get to run into him in the halls, and I look forward to working with him and seeing him even more when we get to committees. And thank you for what you're doing this time. I know there's value in community right now. I just went down a rabbit hole myself for about 2-3 hours, online, and we're like, wait, JD Vance, they're encouraging the far right party in Germany. Okay, so I don't know if you're trying to destroy our democracy, you're trying to destroy German democracy, right? After Musk told them that they should be prouder of their past. I mean, like, it's just so deeply offensive. All this stuff, and not valuing public servants and people who serve in our federal work in our federal government, and everything. I mean, I would say go on and on. You guys all know it. I don't have to, but sometimes it's a bit debilitating. So to be in community, I know, is really important. So I'm glad this club is that home for a lot of people. In terms of California, as you know, we submitted a balanced budget that was based on being $7 billion over tax projections, mostly because of taxes on executives at a few companies, including NVIDIA. Obviously, it had a massive run-up, Apple, others. And so because we have a progressive tax system, the good news there is we've been over tax projections. The bad news is, we just don't know how all the different ways that the federal government is going to screw with us, especially in things like, Medicaid, Medi-Cal, and all that could have enormous consequences. For me personally, and I appreciate you mentioning the Energy Committee. That was my dream. That's why I ran, really, to be chair of the Energy Committee. And I'm excited, and I know people in Sacramento are excited, because myself as the Senate and Cotty Petrie Norris, who's a good person in the Assembly, people are really hopeful. First time in a long time we've had energy chairs, that I think are kind of committed to the central mission, and but we got a lot to do, and it's a tough time. So electricity rates are out of control, as you all know, which makes it hard for electrification policy, which, part of our core thesis is, electrify transportation, electrify homes. And that's nothing to do with when rates are so high. So we have to tackle rates, which is difficult, because one of the big components of rates is wildfires. And we've given utilities, PUC's given utilities $20 billion the last several years, just utilities alone, for their wildfire work. And so I'll have a bill this year, probably one big, energy accountability, say, or affordability bill. That's kind of a lot of different components, but one part will be around basically trying to really lock down and make sure utilities use the most cost-effective wildfire means possible, right? The biggest bang for the buck, right? They can't underground, maybe certain wires we have to underground, but we can't underground everything, or it'll cost, $1 trillion. So it's so that's really focused on that. And the good news is, we put on the ballot. I was a co-author, and I know all of you supported the climate bond. So we have $10 billion that will now be kind of going through the system. We put money specifically in there around sort of advanced technologies around utility lines, because there's stuff that we can do now with installation, other things that are just a lot less expensive, and sort of some advanced technology to make sure those lines don't cause fire. So that'll be part of that bill. The other part will be just trying to really look at how we build infrastructure and how we do things. Right now, it's all, utility plus, they get the rate base, all that, and get profits. And how can we do it that more cheaply, leveraging, say, the balance sheet of the state, right? So that's another piece. Looking at, rates have risen way above inflation, so we're looking at that piece of it. And then the big topic this year, which I'll be involved in, on the climate change cap and trade working group, but won't come to my committee, though, is cap and trade itself. So cap and trade is the fundamental building block, really, of our carbon policy. It's our tax on carbon. But unfortunately, there's just been a number of flaws in our cap and trade system, unlike, say, Washington State, where they took lessons from our and they built on it and built a much stronger system, which was challenged at the ballot. And in a tough year, obviously, this past year, they won with 62% majority, even though oil companies spent about $20 million to try to overturn it. So we're going to work on cap and trade reauthorization, which means strengthening cap and trade. And then how do we use the proceeds from cap and trade, which should be about $4 to $5 billion a year. And right now, it just doesn't have a really strong nexus in many ways to either to climate or to people's everyday lives. And so how can we say, for example, the climate credit, which is funded, say, partly through cap and trade that goes on people's bills, they have no knowledge that actually comes from, our climate policies. And and so how can we make that more visible and larger, and so people actually feel some of the benefits? So those are a couple of big things on the climate front. So there's one is around, again, rates themselves. Another is around cap and trade. And again, those things can be tied together in the way that I mentioned. Another big topic will be the Western grid. And people want me to carry this bill. This is for 10 years. It's been an effort to say, hey, for reliability and purposes, and to save money, and really to save renewables at this point now, when the Trump administration is going to go after them, we need to have a market where we can export zero cost renewables throughout the West. Right now, we're curtailing lots of solar, for example, and we're basically paying other states to take it because we don't have efficient markets. It's been opposed, and I opposed it. I didn't support it in the past for a bunch of reasons, because we didn't want to lose control of our own energy market. And after the last year, a bunch of stakeholders have been meeting, and they've kind of pounded out a proposal where we would still retain our own CAISO, which is which manages our energy market, would still retain its balancing authority and other pieces that would still allow us to have our own control and of things in California, which is sort of critical. So it's, we're trying to make it sure to be as much as bulletproof as possible from a Trump FERC that might try to advantage, coal or brown resources. And they've done a pretty excellent job of it. And so I know there's some people that still have concerns about it. But it's also, you have union concerned scientists and NRDC and EDF, along with the unions who traditionally have always opposed it because they wanted to make sure the work was done in California. They feel good about it. So a lot of people come together with this proposal and want me to carry that. And I've been looking at that very intensely the last couple weeks. Our estimates are it'll save $600 million a year, when it's up and running. And of course, there's reliability benefits. And if we can use that to also drive demand response and require them to do peak shaving of other things that's not building infrastructure, but actually uses other things to take load off the grid at peak times, then it could be a win-win in a way that supports distributed generation. So those are some big things, obviously, and then there'll be a bunch of other things we're due to just to make heat pump installation easier. I had a bill last year that got vetoed around green hydrogen. My bill on carbon removal that I worked for 2 years on, some of you may remember, got really far and died in appropriations. We'll sort of bring that back, but just focus on the quality side of defining what is high quality carbon removal without the demand side of it for now. Happy to talk about any of that. So big picture, very cognizant of the fact that, if you lose even one house in Congress, it's really up to the states. The states have to drive policy, but now we've obviously lost all three. I mean, between the House, Senate, and the presidency. So it's going to have to be California and I'm building lots of ties with other leading edge climate states that drive this forward. So that's a big topic. On healthcare, I'll mention, because I really learned through this club, honestly, and honestly, some of the work that Margaret Akazume and the movie that she showed at the club, and it really got me focused more on healthcare affordability. And I passed a bill last year called Physicians Make Decisions, to say that health plans can't use AI to deny claims, because that's what they were doing. In the one lawsuit, Cigna, they denied 300,000 claims over 2 months with an average review time of 1.2 seconds. But the Wall Street Journal just came up with an article that said 850 million claims denied last, which is like, that's even a mind-boggling number. I can't quite wrap my head around it. But I have to explain to my European friends, we're the only industrialized country that actually has the system, right, where we spend 33 cents of every healthcare dollar on client claims, filing claims, denying claims, appealing claims, all that obviously not going to doctors and not leading to better and cheaper healthcare. So it's one of the many things in our system that has to be cleaned up. But until we succeed in getting some kind of single payer or multi-payer system, we have to keep working on it. So across the nation, they're trying to work on what's called prior authorization. So, procedures that have a high, that 90% of times are approved or approved upon appeal, then those can be sort of prior authorized, and so that way you don't have denials of claims and all that back and forth. And so it's a complicated area. I'm still wrapping my head around it, but we think we've got sort of the right solution. Nancy Skinner had a big prior authorization bill last year that didn't make it through, and we're going to try to get that done this year. So we'll be active on the healthcare side. With that bill, primarily looking at some other things, somewhat controversial. I don't know if controversial or not, but the people have been trying to get approval of psychedelics for, specifically, I had a bill with the Republican minority leader around veterans and first responders. So a lot of evidence, big Stanford study, and including a former member who's really benefited from this, who's very adamant about it. And so focus just on veterans and first responders. So we'll likely bring that back, but we're figuring out sort of the contours, of that as well. So keeping the tech policy space, had 4 bills signed by the governor last year, and a big AI transparency bill, AI working group around education, a working group with the superintendent of public instruction, protecting our brain data, neuro data, a privacy bill around that the governor signed, and so looking at a few other bills still in that space. Any ideas from this group are certainly will certainly be welcome. It's not going to be a great year for sort of criminal justice bills. I'll have one bill that's really around focused a lot on conditions in prison and parole. And so we'll have another bill on that in that space as well. So, a big year on a lot of these topics. Happy. Do you want to take any questions or let me know?
Yes, please. We would love to ask a few questions. You can either put your questions in the chat or just raise your hand. We have Tim Wee with a question.
Hi, Senator Becker. Thanks for doing so much for reducing climate change. Tim Wee, I'm working on climate like every day. I bike everywhere. And I've sent you an email about a bike education bill that a lot of us across California would like to get going. I think Senator Cortese is going to sponsor next year. I wonder if you wanted to help out and help shape what that bicycle education bill would be. It hasn't been authored yet. We need to figure it out. But we'd like to have bike education, walking education in every school in California. So it's not just the wealthy schools that have safe routes to school programs to get people biking, but really have everyone think of that as an option because it saves lives from crashes, it reduces climate change, it saves money, it's just good for your body and your health. So what do you think?
First of all, thanks for your advocacy on that for sure. I didn't see that one. I apologize. I don't know if it went to my team. Was it part of the Ought to Be a Law contest or was it particularly around?
No, it's the new thing that we're starting. We've got people across the state working on it. I'm one of them.
Yeah. Well, please go ahead and send it. I'd be happy. I'm happy to talk to Senator Cortese about it. And with some of these things, it's just like, I'm always in the mantra of like, let's start here, right? Let's get, and as you said, some of our schools are already doing a good job, but some of them aren't, right? So I don't know how San Mateo County, for example, is doing. So as much as we can start, doing that here, let's do it. But happy to look at that and figure out how we can try to get something done at the state level. The Teachers Association is usually very reluctant around, mandates of those sorts, but happy to work on something.
Actually, the San Mateo County Department of Education is leading the charge. They're one of the sponsors for figuring out how this to happen because a lot of their schools are doing a great job, but some need more help.
Yeah, great. Well, that's great. And Nancy McGee's amazing, sir. So I'd be happy to see it. Yeah, make sure you can just send it directly to me at my Gmail. You can send it to becker.josh@gmail or send to Nicole or Alex or as well. Make sure we see it. Yeah.
All right, thank you. We have Councilmember Mellinger with a question.
Hi there, Josh. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
So I'm afraid this is going to be a bit of a blue question, but I think it's fair to say that what Trump and Musk are doing constitutes a constitutional crisis right now for the country.
Yeah.
They are flagrantly ignoring the Constitution. They're flagrantly ignoring the law. And the thing is, the Constitution is a compact. It is a contract between the sovereign several states and the federal government. With this constitutional crisis, I know that we've got the additional funding for the AG's office, but what steps does California need to be taking to protect our residents from federal overreach and abuse and to ensure that we're actually getting the services that we are entitled to, that we are sending, we're already sending more of our tax dollars than we get back. How do we make sure that, we actually get the services and the emergency relief that we're entitled to and stand up to this administration? Thank you.
Yeah, I hear you 100%. Something I think about a lot. I actually pitched Stanford Law School on doing a day-long symposium, and they agreed, which was a big deal. Thanks to help from Mike Romano and Bob Weisberg, because and like some other friends have been like, "Wow, I can't believe you got them to do that," because they're generally pretty cautious about stuff like this, and a lot of people are trying to keep their heads down, and we're seeing a lot of what I don't know if you read that article that I posted that Scott sent me, which was around it was called anticipatory obedience, right? Like you see a lot of people like just trying to like do stuff to kind of like, and some of the terrible stuff that Zuckerberg did, I'd say probably falls in this category too, right? Where they're just like, okay, maybe if I in advance, take down this and do this and say this and give this money, then they'll let me alone or kind of things, right?
Which is exactly the wrong thing.
exactly right. And you saw what Trump, posted today. He said, what did you see this thing he posted today?
If
I
you
mean, it's
save
like,
if you save the country, the law doesn't matter or something. Or if you save the country, it's not against the law.
yeah, I mean, it's just like all this stuff it's all of our worst case, our worst case fears coming true. Um, so anyway, I did pitch Stanford. We're doing so we're going to do a day-long symposium on February 25th. And the AG is going to come and give a lunch keynote. And I've been told I can invite some people. So if you're interested, let me know. Let Nicole know. Nicole is working on it locally, so she can get you the info. But we're going to do a panel on immigration, panel on civil rights, a panel on environment, panel on reproductive rights. So, I'm sure we're gonna get into some of these things. I called it very innocuous. I called it "New Administration, New Legal Landscape." So I try to make the title as innocuous as possible, so they could. But I'm sure we'll get into it once we do. So I'm interested to see what people at Stanford Law have to say, and I'll be talking to them next week as well. I mean, I think it's a big deal, and it's a hard thing, right? Because so just for the fires alone, Gavin came to our caucus. We had a 2-day policy retreat, Wednesday, Thursday, and we're putting in our next request just for the cleanup, right? For any rebuilding starts with a good cleanup, is what I've been told, and that'll be in the tens of billions, right? So we're putting into for the federal government right now. For the next round of emergency, whatever money, tens of billion, asking for tens of billions of dollars, right? So it's a sense thing. On the other hand, you're right. Like, obviously we're overall a donor state, but it's a sort of time where we're particularly sort of, vulnerable. And he told us a little about his, he went and actually met with Trump. I mean, it's crazy. It's all just insanity. So, I don't, I hear you. Definitely. I mean, and I was going to fund my own ad in the campaign just to be like, this is, the framers, the founders created this, these 3 legs, right? The executive, the judicial, and legislative. And it's very, very, very hard to break. That's why it's maintained. And, he's like the only guy that could break it. And he's already tried by, corrupting the courts. And of course, he's already removed the media from his, the mainstream media from his. They don't, they eroded trust in that. They worked on that for 20 years, right? So then, the mainstream media sounding alarm doesn't help. And then completely disregarding Congress, and he's got a possibly compliant Congress for a lot of it anyway. So it's a. I don't want to be a downer, but I mean, to me, it's just an absolutely terrifying, absolutely worst case situation. So we have to look at everything. So I don't know if that's a great answer, but I'm certainly looking at everything. I'm open to looking at everything, and we'll tackle some of that at this Stanford Law Symposium.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Senator Becker. And the one thing I'm going to add, I do think there's reason for hope. I posted an article I wrote on this today in the chat. I'll post it again. At the same time, even while there's reason for hope, this is a constitutional crisis, and the potential outcomes include things like the total breakdown of the rule of law. Like there's a lot of very, very bad things that would have been considered unthinkable even 5 years ago that are now possible.
Yeah. Well,
thank you for your answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you have loyalty tests for the FBI and for and Chris Murphy's been great. He had a good thing today. He posted, if you look through it, like, yeah, I mean, it is, this stuff has been unthinkable for sure. Yeah, I'd like to see your article. Send it to me, please.
Right. Thank you. Councilmember Sell has a question.
Hi, Senator Becker. So some of the things you've championed over the years are climate and equity, diversity, and those kind of things. And those are keywords that at the federal level with the Trump administration, they're trying to erase. So does that impact like what we can do at the state when those kind of programs are targeted by Trump? Climate, diversity, equity, you know.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, they're targeting things, and we've only at the very, that's what's crazy about us. We're only like, we're like 3 weeks in, right? So they're definitely going to threaten to withhold funds if we don't certain things. They're definitely going to, so we're still early days. I haven't seen any changes yet in stuff that I'm personally involved in, but I have heard some stuff. I think maybe even it's from Stanford or maybe from some of the UC, that or some companies that are purging stuff. Now, I did talk to the CEO of one company, which is like, he's based in Houston. It's a relatively overall, call it conservative energy company. I would say he's conservative. And he's like, you know what, we're going to still do the same things. We're just not going to call it that, right? He's like, everybody knows, you want the best talent, and, you get the best talent by casting a wide net and having diverse talent base, so I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know how many people are thinking about it that way. But that was at least, somewhat encouraging to hear. And actually his belief was that actually corporate America is actually way ahead of the public sector and the academic sector in these ways, right? Like they've kind of, in most cases, already been kind of well in front of this, and so really the academic, are sort of in other places are sort of catching up. That was again interesting perspective. So I'm certainly committed to it. We're committed to it. Very proud. We've got the most diverse Senate ever. We have majority women for the first time ever. My close friend Senator Gonzalez is our Latino caucus chair and our majority leader. So we have a very diverse. So certainly we're going to do, and I'm going to do everything we can. As someone asked in the chat about LGBTQ rights, absolutely. I'm going to do whatever I can to stand up for these rights, to make sure people feel welcome in our communities and in our state. But it's, we're still in the early days of it. Somebody asked, so hopefully, Linda, hopefully that's helpful. Thank you for your service and everyone who's serving local. It's the same thing, right? You locally, you're sort of in the same boat as us. I mean, some ways your job will be even harder, say, on immigration, right? And I spent all last year with a bill I did, SB 537, with Senator Gonzalez around the Mexican repatriation of the 30s and educating people, because I didn't know about it. We deported over 1 million Mexican, but also almost half Mexican Americans and citizens, and just no due process and roundup. And so that's what we're seeing, right? Even they say they're going after criminals, and you've got ICE agents with quotas. They're just going to start, they just start to round up whoever. And so, we have to be careful. We can not help ICE, right? And we can make sure everyone knows their rights and all that sort of stuff. But the reason, so Janet Napolitano came to our caucus, and she said the reason our sanctuary laws have been upheld is because the courts basically ruled it's okay to not help ICE, but it's not okay to impede ICE. So that was like a distinction that she made pretty clearly. I thought was, that was sort of interesting. So we're all going to have to balance all of this in how do we help our communities. But I think a lot of it with the LGBT community, with an immigrant, just let people know they feel appreciated, that we're thinking about them, we're here for them, and that's going to be important. And so someone wrote, about what to do, and it's we say, hey, support good people, support good policies. I don't fully know. I mean, at some point, I think we're going to have to get people out in the streets. I mean, as Richard was saying, like any one of these things would have just been unthinkable. And I think part of their strategy is to sort of do them all at once. So we just kind of feel, paralyzed. But we can't, in any way let anyone think this is okay. I went into Meta and I told them, that the comments were unacceptable. That Zuckerberg did. We have to let the companies. I texted a friend at Amazon today. I'm like, who's a government fair. I'm like, did you pay $40 million for the Melania Trump documentary? Was that like, what's up? Like we're not, like, hey, they want stuff from the legislature. We're not going to look kindly on any of these things, right? So so anyway, I hope some of that's helpful. Let me take a quick look. I don't know if there's any other questions. I'm going to take a quick look, make sure my my bill. Well, I will say a couple things. Yeah. Looking at some air quality stuff with the environmental justice community, I think that's important as we look at cap and trade. I won't mention too many others, but I will say that interim housing, I think, is really important. And I know, not everyone here supported Matt Mahan. I didn't support him when he ran for mayor, but I do think that what he's doing is absolutely the right thing, where he's committed to building 1,000 units of either interim housing or safe parking. Or this year, the estimates, they need about 2,500 units to get to what people call functional zero. And actually, for the first time, really believing that we can solve unsheltered homelessness, right? Which is the most inhumane and most visible part of homelessness. Obviously, only one part of the bigger homelessness problem, which requires lots of housing and everything that you are working on. But we got to get people off the streets, where people are becoming drug addicted on the streets, getting assaulted on the streets, dying on the streets. And so I had a bill, the Interim Housing Act, which got killed the first year. We got it passed last year. We'll probably do a follow-up on that this year. So I just wanted to mention that as well.
Thank you. I see Gail Rupino with a hand up.
Yeah, Josh, could you give us your email address and how you want us to contact you about this symposium? And I have one other comment, and that is I think, and this is just my own personal opinion, I think we need to have something like Federalist Papers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where in the beginning, after the Revolutionary War, we really had to get people to understand what we were getting into with the government.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've really lost our way with what civics is all about, and what the government is and what it provides. And I think there realistically does need to be discussions about what is a reach, what's overreach, what's underreach, what kind of government do we want.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's great that you have symposiums at Stanford, but I think reaching the regular American that doesn't really care much about this is really important. And I think, we're going through a revolution, and for me, it's really exciting to live right now, because God knows no one's lived through this for 250 years.
That's a good point.
But since it is a revolution, we need to figure out how to get people engaged on what our government does, because so many nihilists that really just want to blow everything up.
It's a great point. It's a great point. I mean, we talked about civics education. We've talked about, but, maybe I, started with a town hall on it. That's a great.
One of my thoughts is maybe we need, every single kind of social media, we need to blast it with really well-written information that starts discussions on what is our government about. What do we want as a population? Because, we're not the small little 13 colonies that started this. We're now, 330 million people that are so disjointed and so different. Anyway, I'll stop talking because I've been trying to figure out what to do.
Obviously, I'm a state vote, but what can I do that focuses on the federal level? And something like that is, might be a good part of it. So I appreciate that. I'm sort of texting my team right now. exactly on what it would be, but doing something. I like it. That's good. Yeah, so I got your email, but yeah, also just make sure. So Nicole, who's our district director, Nicole.Fernandez at sen.ca.gov. I already forwarded your email, Gail, but other people can just make sure, then she can get the RSVP. Nicole.Fernandez at sen.ca.gov. Good. Well, thank you, everyone. Any other?
One more question.
Yeah, sure.
So you mentioned a couple times about the fires and the cleanup and the rebuilding, and
yeah, we talk a lot more about that. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of worrisome things about, maybe preventing reach codes for the next several years. And it's shown that, for example, rebuilding without gas is safer, less expensive, and helps the climate. Triple win.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you for sure, and I appreciate it. I've definitely talked to my colleagues about this. I think it's it's a hard situation, right? The devastation there is so great, and the anger is so great, and 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 I will say I'll finish this, and so I think that's kind of fueling the rush to like, hey, rebuild, like we got, and where my heart is, but this is one I might not have any, enough of a sort of say in. It's not a bill or anything. It's really how the governor is going to react and the people down there. But I hear you. It certainly would be better. I mean, the only remotely positive thing I could say, a lot of the, and they should build without gas, but also a lot of the infrastructure, was so destroyed. They're going to have to, for the utilities, they're going to build it back, and hopefully they build it, like they can actually do undergrounding so that now, in those communities they can do, but also hopeful with better technology and better things that will, be overall better for the grid and energy. But it's a hard situation. I am doing a town hall on the 18th. If you're not part of my district, you can still join, probably, I'm sure, on home hardening and wildfire preparedness. And happy to coordinate with Patrick. I'm doing other stuff in the future together, actually. But the since I was chair of the budget subcommittee that we oversaw wildfire, sort of forests and whatever for the last couple of years, I put together my own strategy, what I thought was sort of our, kind of an 8-point strategy on wildfires, because it's not one thing, right? And that's available on my website. There's sort of a section on my website that you can see. Hopefully you can find, it's like under news, I think, reports, something. Anyway, it's there. But I've got for homelessness and for wildfires, what I see is sort of the, as at least my view of the strategy. And you can sort of see that there. But I'm reading a book called This Is Wildfire. It's a really good book. I was reading it this morning, really recommend it. I'm also doing a little bit of a book club in Sacramento. I've had a few senators for Arlie Hochschild, who's the mother of our CC Commissioner, David Hochschild. She wrote a book called Stolen Pride, and it literally arrived at my doorstep the Wednesday after the election. And it's about, and she's 85 now, she's taught for a long time. She spent a lot of time in Pikesville, Kentucky, which was 50-50 Democrat Republican, and now it's like became like 80-20. And there was sort of a test drive of the right-wing march that ultimately happened in Virginia. There was a version of that happened first in Pikesville. And it's a really, it's an interesting book. So check it out if you want a book. It's like, Stolen Pride and the Rise of the Right.
Josh, Julia Miller here.
Yeah.
Apologize, I couldn't find my raise the hand. A lot of people are complaining about their PG&E bills, and the recent publicity was that PG&E has made $2.4 billion profit in the last 12 months. Can you comment on that, please? And then if you can comment on Robert Kennedy's appointment to HHS, I'd appreciate that also.
Yeah, PG&E. Yeah, it's a really it's such a complicated situation for so many reasons. So yeah, on the one hand, right, like massive profits. Okay, that's where I might bill. I got a lot of stuff to cut into their profits. On the other hand, because of the fires, there's concern, I know, among the administration, and real concern that the utilities then become uninvestable, which is fine if we're going to municipalize them, which I would be probably supportive of for PG&E, and Jerry Hill kind of laid the groundwork for. But if we're not, it just leads to really high borrowing costs for them, which then reflects in a higher cost for everything else, right? Because then they're higher costs for everything that they do, and a lot of that gets passed on to ratepayers. So what happened in 2019 is they created a wildfire fund which is pretty well thought through, and it's been a model for the country. So the first $1 billion of every wildfire that utilities are involved in comes from the utility themselves. But then after that, it comes partly, I think partly from shareholders and partly from a fund, a $20 billion fund that was created. And there's about 15 billion in the fund right now, or 14 billion. And people thought that would last, it's supposed to last for 10 years. Well, that could be exhausted. And this is not negligent. This is if you're responsible, but not, willfully negligent, let's just say, because otherwise then of course they have to pay for everything. But if Edison's responsible for the Eaton fire, then a lot of that fund will be depleted, and then the fund's not there, and then that caused investors for, say, even other utilities like PG&E to be concerned, and so it's sort of a weird situation where I feel like there's some people now want to be protective of the utilities because they want them, they don't want these, their borrowing rates to go way up. On the other hand, we have to do these fundamental reforms that really get to their profits. And at the same time, we have to make sure they do their job, right? Which is hook things up to the grid. And that was one of the big things I worked on for 4 years, is you had all these complaints where people were building electric homes or even just new affordable housing projects waiting for months. And for charging infrastructure, it was 1.5 years to get connected to the grid for big charging infrastructure. So I passed a bill that gave them some dedicated money only for that purpose, so we can get those things connected and then bring down rates because we have volumetric rates. Which is all to say that's not a great answer to your question, but it's a very complicated situation because we have to, it's unconscionable for them to have these profits when people are suffering. On the other hand, we have to sort of be a little bit conscious of sort of the overall health of the utilities. So that's one piece I would say. The other piece on the Kennedy, I don't know what to say. I mean, I'd say the only remotely positive is, he is seems to be very serious about tackling our food systems. And so I know all my friends who sort of care about food systems and all the chemicals in our food and just sort of the unhealthiness of our overall food system and food supply are at least hopeful that he'll be able to do something around some of that, and which speaks to the fact that Democrats didn't do enough. One of many areas where when we were in control, Democrats didn't do enough because there's a number of people who would not have supported Trump, but supported because they were excited about some of this, quote unquote, make America healthy stuff.
Good point. Thank you, Josh. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Josh, I wanted to make sure that you saw the comment in the chat from Marie Bernard, and also invite Marie to say those words herself if she can. Or
well, I see a part about for CalFresh, and by the way, I did get a word just the other day. So I passed a bill last year that will have everybody leaving our prison system to get signed up for CalFresh before they leave if they're eligible, because we know, we got to make sure that money's available, but we also had very low signups, only about 75% say people eligible were signed up, and that's free money from the federal government. And so we had to get a waiver. Part of my bill, we had to get a waiver from the federal government, and that waiver was granted. So we'll be able to sign up people coming out of our prison system, so that they one last thing they have to worry about when they get out, they can get healthy food. So that's a big piece. So yes, certainly we'll fight for CalFresh, Medicare, Medi-Cal, and yeah, and our immigrant neighbors need our support. And I was absolutely, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Marie. We'll be working along your side for that, alongside of you.
All right.
All right. We should probably go maybe one more.
One more hand. Geeta, go ahead. Last question.
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the explanations you have given. I have one question, which is the lack of funding or reducing funding for Medi-Cal, Medicaid is going to affect services like Early Start and some of the preschool services that many districts offer for kids who have disabilities. And also the regional center offers a lot of services for kids who are under 3 years old. And I'm very concerned that these funds, this reduction of funds has already started taking shape in a reduction of staff in the county of Santa Clara, County of Education. So the special ed services are getting affected for the youngest of youngest already. And I'm really worried that this will have long-term impacts on the kids that receive these services even when they're in the school system. So the funding for Medicaid and Medi-Cal that comes through Medicaid, of course, is going to be very detrimental to kids with special needs. So I'm
Yeah.
I would like to, because kids with IEPs, they even sign in within the school districts to bill to Medi-Cal for some of the services that they get through school. So the funding, if it is cut for Medicaid, then it's going to impact the schools. It's going to impact all the early start services that many of these kids get, and also the regional center services that many kids continue to get through their growing up in addition to the school district. So I really wish that you could do whatever is in your power to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I certainly will. You have my word on that. And yeah, I mean, just one of the terrible things, and Medi-Cal is already increasing as a percent of our budget, because we did things which we need to do, like covering undocumented immigrants who pay into our system in most cases, and don't get any benefits, and if the federal government moves to cut into our money, we're going to have to figure out ways to react. So anyway, you have my commitment to work and fight for those things.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Good to see you. Many good friends I haven't seen for a while, so it's good to see you. Thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your extra time, Josh.
Okay. All right. Bye.
All right. Yeah, great discussion. So nice to have him speak to the club as often as he does. All right. We have one other item on our agenda, which is a brief discussion from Peggy Brewster about an open seat on the Sunnyvale School District Board of Trustees, and that was vacated by Eileen Lay when she became a council member, and Peggy is also newly seated on the board as an appointee.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. So yes, we have a trustee seat open, and we have an appointment on February 25th. We will be doing interviews we have 4 applicants. I'm very excited about that. There were 6 information sessions, and we had, I think, 5 different people show up, 2 of the 6 sessions, and we got four strong applicants. I am going to actually put in the chat a link to the packet that was just released yesterday, open to the public. And we are going to be doing the interviews on February 25th. We are also early in the day and everything's open to the public. Going to be interviewing for a superintendent for a search firm to support us in our superintendent vacancy as well. That is there's a lot happening at Sunnyvale School District. I'm excited for some changes, honestly, I am, and looking forward to the appointment. I welcome people to read up on the applications, give input, or write the board, or come to the meeting, give public comment if you feel strongly about anybody for any reason. Certainly welcome public input about how we can best serve our students here. I think that's about it. Yeah.
Can you share who has applied?
Sure. We have Courtney Jansen, who is a Democratic Club member. And we also have Evelyn Profeta. She is a parent. Well, Courtney, first of all, has students in the Hood Ghost program in San Miguel, I believe, a kindergarten and a 2nd grader. We have Evelyn Profeta, who is a longtime parent in both Sunnyvale School District and Fremont Union High School District. She has 4 girls. One of them still at Fairwood Elementary. The others have gone through Columbia and have gone through Fremont or are currently at Fremont High School. We have Camilla Santos. She is also a Fairwood parent. She has 2 little, well, not too little, they're older than mine, and we'll be going to Columbia as well. And Fremont. And then the last one, her name is Giselle Alvarez. She's our youngest applicant. She goes to Mission College and is in Leadership Sunnyvale right now. She went through Fairwood, Columbia, and Fremont High School. So we have a very wide range of applicants, of ethnicities, of experience, and I think it's very exciting that so many people have shown interest and are interested in participating in education. Very exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions for Peggy?
We are also, if you are interested, reviewing our LCAP, which are like the plans for the district, and that's coming up at the upcoming, I believe, February 27th meeting. If you are interested in attending or looking at some of the data, that packet, I believe, is also available online. And we are always welcoming public input and participation.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Peggy.
Thank you.
Okay, and I just wanted to, before we close out early, wanted to open up for any other announcements, and also to announce that our next meeting, March 15th, will be at the El Dorado Clubhouse and online, back to our hybrid format. And we do have confirmation of Aisha Wahab coming to talk similarly about the legislation that she has proposed for this this legislative session, as well as some wins that she had for last session. All right, and thank you to everyone who participated at last month's meeting in helping to generate ideas for upcoming topics and speakers for the coming year. That was really helpful. We captured everything, and the board will be using that to help guide us to bring great speakers this year. All right, any last announcements before we close out? Seeing none, it is.
I'd just say this was a very nice meeting that we had Josh for extra time. And it's nice for us to have a meeting that's only an hour and a half.
All right, and thank you to Julia for coordinating that that invitation with Josh Becker's office and
Yeah.
inviting him.
You're very welcome. It was very nice.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day and the weekend, the long weekend. And as Josh Becker said, we might have to get into the streets, and there are several events this weekend. So.
Right. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.